supposed to do. If you knew better, you would do better, and you would wake the fuck up at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock, start on your homework, and then fold your clothes. First of all, number one, brush your motherfucking teeth. Number three, educate your mind. Do your homework. You didn't do your homework.
I'm trying to clean up my room, and you're just draining my energy.
What happened to the homework? But listen, you can't. You was outside playing all yesterday. What happened to the homework?
I do my homework.
So bottom line is, it's shit to do. You ask for a plant, you don't even water it. The plant dead. That is what happens when you don't take care of your brain. So your homework is first. I was even talking about the soccer ball, the soccer stuff. We can never ever do that again, and I would not mind.
You just don't want me to play soccer when I want to play soccer.
I actually let you do everything you want to do. You don't even want to rap no more. So get what you doing. You playing soccer.
Rap.
I don't post nothing. I don't force you to rap.
I do rap.
Okay, but let me tell you something.
When I'm losing followers, you're saying it's my fault.
It is your fault because you're looking like a goddamn Mexican. You're not doing what you're known to do. So therefore, your page is not a soccer page. It's a rap page. It's a crazy good.
So I don't post to do stuff that I like. I can't do stuff that
I mean, you can do. I let you do everything you want to do, and that's the problem.
Mommy, you're acting like you're the victim. You're not the victim.
I am the victim. Because I'm a single motherfucking mom. And I gotta take care of you by myself because ain't nobody else helping me.
And now, for the moment all you motherfuckers been waiting for. All my flip mode niggas rise and await for the most powerful event to occur. The coming! The coming!
You know, I want to say that it's a blatant indictment. A blatant indictment on the mother, the single mother that's filming her son, okay? And I have to preface this by saying we don't know if it's a skit or not, okay? But she is talking to a underage child, and she's using blue language. She's cursing and everything, you know? I understand the frustrations that come with being a parent, right? On both sides of the issue. As I am a quote-unquote baby daddy and shit by force, and I also have a kid that I'm raising within a former marriage, okay? All right, so you know, I've been on both ends of the shit at different ages, all right? I come to you not as any kind of paragon of virtue, okay? It's simply an abject lesson of things not to do, okay? And one of the things that I always said, shit, since I started doing my channel real heavy, was that, you know, there are 3 rules to this game, 3 very simple rules and shit. But the number 3 rule, most important rule, was that you do not make or have children with fallen women. Okay, because your children are your legacy, your future. Okay, your legacy, your future. And what can anyone looking at this clip do with the woman that's talking to her kid, okay, her underage kid? And all the kid needs, all this boy needs is positive reinforcement, right? Positive reinforcement and direction and shit, and some empathy and shit, which she is lacking in great detail simply because of his gender, okay? He feels this way. If that was a little black girl sitting there, she would not be talking to that girl in that manner. Maybe she would and shit, because they love to pass down their negative reinforcement to the next generation, who makes it even worse, which was where we are today and shit, considering my 57 years of age, chronologically speaking, and shit, and the fact that I'm an elder statesman of this community, uncrowned and shit by my female peers and shit. And who is here for their validation? No one and shit, because I've told you from day one, and many other content creators, that no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself and your fucking children if humanly possible and shit, because there is no future in the supposed black community and shit. And I'm irritated as fuck and shit, because I've told you people that I'm not a paragon of virtue and shit. I'm an abject lesson and shit. I don't come in here preaching to nobody, having platitudes and shit. I talk from the hip. I shoot from the hip always, and I always will until I'm in the fucking box and shit. And I'm gonna tell you that I grew up in a similar situation to this, and my peers too, and within my supposed family and shit. And I've seen what is left of these men, these males, as you would like to call them and shit. I'm a default man. Okay? And I grew up in a household similar to this and shit. Right? It was hell on earth. It was a matriarchal gulag and shit. Okay, and the hallmark of that is the continual breaking you down and repeatedly. Not so much building you back up and shit, but letting it scab over and then going at it again and shit, verbally and spiritually and shit, and physically most definitely. Okay, this little kid is in trouble. But this is a real clip. And even if it isn't, it's an abject lesson and shit. It's a, you know, it's a simple, you know, abject lesson for dumb N-words, okay, that want to sit in this mess, all right? I can't co-sign anybody to tell me that any young men or any men or any racial background to stay in something like this, okay? Now, this little kid, just from listening to this kid is planning his escape already and shit. And I salute the young king and shit, because he will probably be leaving as soon as possible. He's probably going to run away or something, and hopefully they won't find his ass, okay? He's probably gonna take his chances on the street. Worst case scenario, he'll become a victim of the system and shit, as they like to call it, the matrix and shit, and be in that prison, school to prison pipeline, the post haste. Right? We're listening to a child raising a child, and the first thing that comes to my mind listening to this clip is how, uh, you know, we've been told their body, their choice and shit, but they make bad choices and it drags everything with it, like pulling a plug out of a tub full of dirty water. You go right down the drain with them and shit. Okay, and that's what the whole deal about. And all this nagging and all this social engineering is to make you accept it and shit. You don't have to accept it. It's a free will. It's your choice. It's your choice. Okay. When I was a little kid, right, my mother, paragon of virtue herself and shit, uh, she used to make me lose. She used to purposely make me lose in any interactions that I had with other family members or kids out on the street and shit. Right? I was heavily bullied as a kid. And some of that stuff was criminal in nature and shit. And she poo-pooed that shit or told me to, she would quote unquote say, stop playing with those kids. I'm like, there are kids throwing bricks and rocks at the front of my house. I used to have to live in this corner house. And these kids would throw big ass things as big as cinder blocks and they would hit the wall and the screen door. And my mother would yell at me and tell me to stop playing with those kids and shit. Then I just didn't want nothing to do with them and shit, you know. And, things kind of, stabled out and shit, but I was always made to lose and shit. Even when defending my own family's honor and shit. Because I would find out when I was 18 and shit, after discovering that my illegitimate male cousin had been running down our grandmother and shit at school. And I was confronted by a bully. Who didn't know my grandma, but described her quite plainly and said that she was crazy. And I discovered that he was the culprit and confronted him and shit. We ended up having a Donnybrook and shit, which was interrupted by my own mother, who physically assaulted me to stop me from having a fight with this guy. It's not what you would think and shit. Okay? Imagine the dude from Everybody Loves Chris fighting Tiny Lister Debo and shit, and chunking him out and shit, because he's trying to come in the house just to clout chase. This guy came all the way from our high school, walked miles, over 5 miles, just to come in the house and stand next to my grandmother's bed, the woman that he had impugned and, verbally assaulted and shit, and shitted on their name. Just to do that, just to rub it in my face and shit. We ended up in Donnybrook. My mother appeared and physically assaulted me to stop me from yelling at him we were starting to chunk it out and shit. I never forget that. I grew up in a matriarchal gulag. That's what this kid is growing up in and shit. And I feel bad for him. And, if he runs away from home, I can't really say it's a bad thing and shit because the woman in question does not have his best interests at heart. She talks about all the things she does and what she pays for him, but she doesn't love this kid. She probably pays for that stuff so that she can have time to make another one of him and shit. Make another bad decision. She sounds like a child. She's preoccupied. Yet she's a mother. And they tell us it's their body, their choice and shit. And in that last fucking election, they kept telling us we was going to be on the wrong side of fucking history and shit. Well, we're going to be on the most common sense side of history, with the fucking vote. And a lot of us took the couch, and the rest of the men, the males, the socially engineered people that I spoke of, that grew up in households like I did, voted for Kamala Harris and shit. And she still didn't fucking win. So we know there's a most high up there, there's a God that stopped this. Because they're making bad decisions. They're socially engineered to hell and shit. Their default is to shit on you. Alright? I cannot say some, not all this shit, because the women that aren't doing shit like this are married and in decent relationships or can form decent relationships even if they are single partners and shit. I am not inclined to look for them and shit, and I don't have to drag someone here to prove it to you that there's good women out there, but I know what I see. I see a child raising a child and shit. Kid should be taken out of the home and placed in adoptive services and shit. What's the worst that could happen? Look where he's sitting in right now. He's got a woman. He's at the mercy of an immature female and shit who has state-sanctioned, government-sanctioned set-asides to continue this vicious cycle that's destroying the supposed community in this goddamn country of America, United States of America, 3Ks instead. And I mean everything I fucking say. Alright? Now I recall, there's two things I recall, since it really hit the fan, like tail end of 2019 and shit, going into the pandemic and shit. I think I can say that now. I was forced to go back to my hometown where all of this shit happened. Right? All of this fucking shit. I grew up in shit I never wanted to be a part of. I went to all the way 2,554 miles to the West Coast and shit. And my initial reason for going to the West Coast was to save my eldest child from growing up in the projects because his mother had filled out an application of trying to force me to move in there with her. And I wasn't going to fucking do that shit because she was a security risk, for lack of a better term. Okay? And my life would be forfeit and the baby's life would be forfeit. Or he would grow up fucked up and I would be in a disheveled state and shit. Even though I visually appear as some, like I've seen the burning bush. Alright? But my original reason for leaving home was not a selfish one. It was one, I had to make a calculated risk. I had to make a decision, a game time decision to go to the West Coast to California shit. Right? Because I wanted better for my eldest son shit. And the bitch upended that shit. Okay? She upended it. And just to be clear, the entire time that I was sacrificing for my family, going into the military, going across country, and I had never left home and shit, and I had been raised to lose. I have been raised to lose, okay? My parents viciously fought against me getting a driver's license, okay? And I won't bore you with the fucking details, alright? I just want to give you a peek at why there's a Geek Underground page, alright? I'm going to give you a peek at that, or not, because I want to drive home the point that I'm not here trying to act like some kind of paragon of virtue that I made all the right decisions because I did and shit, and because I have wherewithal to tell you this so that you can make an informed decision about your own fucking life and live your best life and not die early and have someone weaponize you, as you heard in this clip. She's talking to him about a social media page he shouldn't have as a underage child. He should not have a social media page. But she's chiding him about his page and the lack of success that he has in securing followers and shit, and therefore making a bag down somewhere down the line that she can exploit and take away and shit. And it reminds me of the female cousin that I had who had trouble with their teenage children, their male children, and somehow asked me to talk to them about it. So I decided to talk to him at a random moment and shit, and I asked the kid straight up in his face, a crip. And I didn't ask the other one, but I asked the eldest one why he was having these troubles. And he said that he was upset because his mom had signed him up to be an extra in movies and shit. And they had been in some movies, some high-profile movies I can't name for, out of litigation reasons and shit. People will come after me at some point. But his mother had ushered him and his younger brother into the film industry as extras, and they were being used on a semi-regular basis and shit. And they had some money, and she had pilfered away and spent up all their money, so they felt crestfallen and like nothing mattered. So they didn't give a shit, and he ended up, he became a gang member, and he was just kind of lackadaisical, and she bought him a Jeep or something, and he was playing rap music, driving around with one of any number of girlfriends, in the car and shit, and just, but we were cool, all right? And I love him, but his mom is responsible for his sullen demeanor and his lack of ambition and shit. He's well off, okay? His father came through for him and shit. I won't bore you with the details, but his father came through with him. I imagine that he still has this sullen, demeanor and shit. This is a young man that had been at one point shot in the buttocks by a rival gang member. It's not safe out there and shit if you listen to the rhetoric. Okay? This little boy, I can tell from the sound of his voice if this is actually not escape, that he is planning his escape and shit. Even if it is a sketch, he's planning his escape. And no kid has any business being on social media and just, having a verbal discourse with his own mother and shit. His infantile, childish mother was blaming him for his own fucking existence. Just talking to him as if he impregnated her to have him and shit. She should be ashamed of herself. And I would have nothing to say to this woman. She could rage and bitch, and I would just stare at her, because as soon as she had finished, I would call up child services and send them this video over there. And if they were on their square shit, they would come over here and enroll this kid into the foster care system where he fucking belongs, because she cannot take care of him. Okay? And I want to hear in you, a lot of you women who come hate for this woman and shit, try to say she's doing a good job and come over my doorstep and shit. I'm gonna tell you, go fuck yourself. And don't talk to me and don't talk to other kings about body autonomy and shit. And you made a big deal out of that in the election. You helped the Indian woman pretending to be a black woman inflate the issue by making it about body issues and body autonomy and shit. We see from your own purse that your body autonomy should be the least of your problems and shit. Okay? It should be the least of your problems. She's blaming this kid for, she's blaming this kid for being alive and having, the gender that he is. Alright? She's blaming him for his own shit. That is the black male experience here in America through K's of Set. I know, because I lived it and shit. And I made bad decisions and I paid for the shit. I've always been self-aware of shit, but being raised to lose and not making no excuses for any decisions I make, because I'm a man, right? Being made to lose and being in a economic and social bottleneck and shit, it'll take you places you don't want to go and shit. And I simply say that you should avoid this and save yourself, black men and shit, okay? Save yourself. Decades later, I have been in California for 30 years, a little under 30 years that I had left home, originally with the intent of saving my oldest son and shit, right? I returned to the south side of Chicago, right? And one of my siblings once asked me to take my kid to a play date, right? She sent me pictures, right, of the area. I think I saw my kid in one of them. They sent me like a little video or something, my kid playing in a ball pit. My youngest son, he's biracial, by the way. Yeah, she sent him playing in the fucking, ball pit. And then she sent another picture of herself. It was like a dash cam, facing back towards her. And she was driving and he was sitting in his baby seat, strapped in and everything. And he looked happy as hell, but she had this mean ass look on her face. She had a mean mug, a nasty ass look on her face that if she wasn't my sibling, I would have fucking knocked her head off for that shit. I wouldn't want her nowhere near my kid. Okay? But I remember seeing that, looking at her, and I asked her why she had that expression on her face, and I asked her about it, and she didn't give me an answer. Right? And sometime later, a couple months later, I saw another picture of her with her nieces, right? Supposed nieces. They were all wearing these big southern type dresses. They were wearing princess dresses. And she was on one knee, huddled up with them. And she was smiling. She was genuinely happy to have these children, these little female children there and shit. But then, I drummed up the picture of her with my son. And she had a shitty look on his face. And it's not because of anything he did. He was 3 fucking years old. And she had asked to take him on this play date. And I know today that she was probably doing something else and shit. Don't be held to pay for that. Okay? But the contrast was night and day. She had a shitty look on her face for no fucking reason. And I'm gonna tell some of you women out there, come up with some bullshit, that she had never babysitted this kid before. She asked for this privilege, nor had she ever babysitted or taken care of my eldest son. Alright? Every time he was with them, they asked for him to be there. They requested him to be there and poo-pooed my shit. They were partially responsible for me being parentally alienated from my son for the majority of his life until he was an adult. Now, I won't go any further with that. Maybe we'll touch on it in another fucking video. But the point I'm trying to make is, and shit, that when I tell you to save yourself, black men, I fucking mean it. I can feel it in my blood and shit. Right? I know some of you can't too and shit. I want to tell you, you're living under impression and shit, okay? You're being socially engineered, you're being nagged, you're being gaslit every fucking day. Right? And it's important that you know this and shit. It's not important that you know it and you let someone else know it and shit. You let people come to their own natural conclusion, but you save yourself because no one's coming to save you. Right? And you know, I want to use an explicative about the mother of this video, but she is par for the course, the norm and shit in the society and shit that demonizes us for our melanin content and our plumbing downstairs. What the fuck are you gonna do with that? What can any king build with the woman in this segment that's talking to her kid in that manner and shit? And bemoaning the fact that she's a single mother and shit. Blaming the kid for being alive and she, even though she gave birth to him, she fucked his father. She went raw with his fucking father and shit. And I'm sure she probably gets some child support or something to foul if she even knows who the guy is. And she ain't spending none of that shit on that kid. She probably, even the soccer lessons, maybe if she is, she's spending that money on those soccer lessons. She mad because she can't use it to buy herself another wig or some fucking nails or beauty care shit. Okay? There's a child raising a child and shit. You can't do nothing with these motherfuckers. And this is what they bring to the table. Chaos and shit. And the mismanagement of your future. This mismanagement of your legacy and shit. You take that shit, you take this the gospel shit. Move accordingly, young man. Right? Save yourself, black men. Because I love you enough to tell you so. And I care.
You play soccer. I don't post nothing. I don't force you to rap.
Like, I do rap.
Okay, but let me tell you something.
When I'm losing followers, you're saying it's my fault.
It is your fault. Because you're looking like a goddamn Mexican. You're not doing what you're not doing what you're known to do. So therefore your page is not a soccer page. It's a rap page. It's a creepy good.
I don't post to do stuff that I like. I can't do stuff that
I mean you
like.
can do. I let you do everything you want to do. And that's the problem. You think you got extra privileges and you think like the whole world revolves around you. And I'm weak because my whole life revolves around my kids. It's unfair to me. You're actually taking advantage of me.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
How?
Because everything you want, I have to go buy it.
No.
Everything you need, I have to provide it.
No.
Anytime you
I'm
want to
trying to
do
tell you.
something extracurricular, my mind tells me, oh my gosh, my son really want to do this, so I have to make a way. Even if I don't have no money, I don't even have money for the private soccer right now. You know how much money I paid for the soccer league? The travel team?
Yeah.
How much?
$500.
$500? No, I paid $400 every month for the soccer 101. For the lead, I had to pay $1,500 for that. Not only did I pay $1,500 for the soccer league, you know what else I had to pay for? Uniforms. And guess how much was that? That was like $500. And you won't even wear the uniforms because you're wearing this bullshit ass somebody else jersey number.
It's a madhouse! A madhouse!